Hey guys, today we're going to be going through all of my video game pickups for the month of April 2022, so let's go and get started. So to start things out, we're going to get stuff that I got online out of the way here, because the majority of everything here is from like a trip that I took to Tennessee recently, earlier this month. So yeah, real quick, we'll just get stuff that I got online out of the way here real quick. So first thing is stuff that's down here. I got the Nier Automata a figure. It's a let's see, it's a statuette 2B. This is the second color version of it, but I also got the regular version of it, where you see 2B in her regular uniform right there. Basically just color differences there. I got these from Square Enix's website, and I thought that they do look pretty good, so I felt like getting both figures because they were pretty affordable for what they were. Next thing here, this is from I Am 8-Bit. This is a vinyl record of Manifold Garden. Manifold Garden is a game that I picked up on the PS5 from I Am 8-Bit's website. It is like a puzzle walking simulator game. That the music is pretty good. It's really interesting, despite like I think it's like only 12 tracks. But I really like what I listened to it though, and that I'm like a big fan of this game. I wanted to get a vinyl soundtrack of it because I just really like the music in this game. All right, next thing here, because I kind of want to get back into Breath of the Wild a little bit to be prepared for the inevitable sequel that'll come out next year. But I want to see if I can try to like 100% the game though this time around, because I know like my first time playing it back in 2017, like I skipped over a lot of stuff that I didn't realize that I did when I initially played the game. But wanted to get this though to like kind of like aid me in it, and plus I just wanted this for a long time. It's the expanded strategy guide for Breath of the Wild. This is the one where it does have content in it that talks about the DLC as well, with the 2 expansions that they released for the game. Plus, it does come with a map that does show all like the Shrine Korok Seed locations as well. I did used to have the deluxe edition version that came out around the time when Breath of the Wild first came out. Though these days, that is a rare and very expensive book to find, though. That I sold that to a friend because the deluxe edition, that thing was so big, so heavy and all that, that it was just cumbersome to try to like store it away and also use as well. That, you know, I'll sell that to a friend. I don't care much about having it and all that, and therefore I just went out and got like the better one, in my opinion. The only thing that this doesn't have over the deluxe edition is that in the deluxe edition, towards the very end of it, they had pretty much like a history or documentary of like not all but most of like the mainline Zelda games though, which I don't think is much of a reason that you should pick one over the other, especially considering like how expensive the deluxe version is, like I said. But yeah, I just felt like getting this here. I think this will be pretty fun to go through, as I'm trying to like 100% Breath of the Wild. It's like, well, why did you get like strategy but just use the internet? It's like, yeah, I can do that, but I don't know, I kind of miss the times of using strategy guides for games back then. I will use the internet for some things as well, but I think Breath of the Wild might be one of those games where I might want to I just feel like using something like that though, so yeah, that's that. Alright, rest of the stuff that came in online. This came in today, matter of fact. It is called Deadlit in Wonder Labyrinth, Record of Lotus War. That is such a long name right there. This is an indie game from Red Art Games that I got online, and this is a really good Symphony of the Night clone, and I do mean that in like a very good way. I recommend you check out From the Void's review that he did on this game. He did that like I think like 2 months ago at this point. He does a great job explaining about this whole game, that it's like a really, really good Metroidvania game that is way more akin to a Symphony of the Night. So if you're a big fan of that game, you should probably look into getting this game. This next one here, this is from Play Asia. This is the very first Play exclusive that they've released for the PS5 called Trigger Witch. Trigger, which I honestly don't remember much about this game. I want to say this might be like a Contra clone of some sorts, but again, I just don't, like I said, I don't remember like what the game really is. Just picked it up because it's like the first Play exclusive that PlayAsia has made, which Play exclusive is basically their version of Limited Run, basically, is the way you can look at it. So yeah, wanted to pick it up for that sake alone. This next one here is like, finally I've gotten this game. It's been on like my radar for a long time, but just never pulled the trigger on it because still like pricey in a way, of course. But then again, it's like don't really mind it for this game here. But what we got here, Super Smash Bros. Melee. Yes, I didn't have Melee for a long time until now. It's just Melee has just always held its value throughout its entire existence, and totally understandably why, you know. But yeah, I just didn't have a copy of it until now. Well, then again, I've never had a GameCube growing up at all. I've only recently started getting games for it mid last year, where Twin Snakes was the very first game that I picked up for the system. Very glad it was that game too, to give him the Metal Gear fan that I am. But yeah, just finally got Melee, and thanks to this pickup, I now have every single Smash Brothers game now. As you can see here, laid out. Yep, every single mainline entry in the series. So, but pretty nice to have, just like have a completed series like that. Do look forward to playing around with this too, so I can get my own save file to unlock everything and play Smash tournaments with my buddies whenever they come over, and plus got 2 CRTs to play on as well, so it'll be definitely a great time to, if that's something we want to play, is like, hey, we got a like great method to play with it, and also using the official component cables on this here, so be quite a nice setup to have whenever I do get a chance to play in that. Anyways, moving on. Next thing here, it's kind of like this is a strange thing here, but given like what this is, what series it's from, like I'm gonna get it regardless. It's Metal Gear Solid digital graphic novel. This is, as the name would imply, it's a digital graphic novel of Metal Gear Solid 1. Basically, it has it goes through the whole story of Metal Gear Solid 1, but it has some bunch of like big differences in it, though. Some of it I really liked, and some is questionable and all that. But like essentially, this is a movie based on Metal Gear Solid 1, is the way you can look at it. It's just it's in a very unique graphic novel art style. Like if you've played you know, like Peace Walker, then you know the exact art style that this is going to be right here. This was released in the Legacy collection on the PS3, and the way that you would access that is, instead of like starting the game in like the game tab menu on the PS3, you would go over to like the video section, and you'll see this, as well as the Metal Gear Solid 2 digital graphic novel, which that was only released in Japan, and I do believe its first international release was with the Legacy collection on the PS3, but for the original one based on MGS1, this is what we got only on the PSP. Definitely recommend you check it out if you are a big fan of the first game. This can be pricey in some regards, though, but hey, that didn't stop me. I'm a diehard Metal Gear fanatic that'll get anything with that name on it. Right, this next thing, this just came in yesterday, I do believe, and this was a Kickstarter project that I did back myself, and this is from a YouTube channel called Too Old for Gaming, and it is a book called Vita Means Life. As you would probably guess, this is a book talking about the PlayStation Vita, and it basically goes through its entire history from before it was in like its development stages all the way to today, when it has now pretty much been discontinued. I think it was either July or August last year, like the very last Vita games were released on the PlayStation Store, and since then there's no more new Vita games at this point now, so it's now pretty much just a relic of the past now at this point, since no new stuff is getting made for it officially. Of course, you know, the homebrew scene is still going to keep going, and is still pretty alive and well, thankfully. But for this, I wanted to back this, and I did back Too Old for Gaming's his last project he did on the Vita, and this one I want to make sure I get this, since this is just an entire documentary or history book on the Vita itself. And since the Vita, it's like possibly my favorite handheld of all time, hideously underrated. It's the Dreamcast of handhelds, in my opinion, and many people have that same thought as well too. That I just had to get this here. I look forward to reading through this whole thing, and inevitably one day. Plus, it did come with this handbook, and it's basically a collector's handbook to go through every single like physical release ever made for the system. It does talk about like the official games that was released for it that had like a wide physical release, and it does have like the limited printed stuff and all that for like limited run games and all that fun stuff as well too. So yeah, nice little checkbook to have if you're ever going to get into Vita collecting, which good luck these days, because Vita stuff since the last year's just been insanely expensive. Now that people are looking back at it and realize, yeah, this system was amazing, and now people are hardcore collecting for it, and as a result, prices have skyrocketed for a lot of its games, unfortunately. And I'm pretty sure that the prices are going to stay like that, because this was not a financially successful system at all, so therefore far few games exist out there and all that. So yeah, I feel like stuff where it's just going to be expensive going forward, unfortunately. But system itself, still great to get though to stay. Highly recommend that you do get it whenever you get the chance. Alright, so that's everything that came through online. So the rest of this stuff is all local pickups, though everything here is from my trip that I took to Bristol, Tennessee recently. Went there for a family vacation that we mainly went there to go see the NASCAR race there at Bristol, Tennessee, because they were doing like a dirt track race on it. So it was a good time there. It was fun watching it and all that. Was great hanging out with family. Went to Hibachi, went to a cavern over in the Apache Caverns, I think is what it was called. Went to an arcade there. That was a great time as well. I haven't played pinball in like a long time as well. Some arcade cabinets. So yeah, great time overall, and plus got a couple pickups here that I want to go through here with you guys. So these first few here is from a store called Two Dudes Gaming. Now, I have mentioned before that Two Dudes Gaming, that is the same store that I picked up my original copy of Metal Gear Solid 1. I bought that last year. Then it was like the same exact trip that I went to recently was to go watch a NASCAR race, and their store was in the area, and they had that copy there, and that's where I picked it up. That's so yeah, like an actual original PS1 copy of it in its dual jewel case, like that is where I got it, and I will treasure that forever. So really wanted to make sure that I went back to them on this trip as well, that whole story of how I got that, plus a couple other Metal Gear games that I've gotten from them as well too. But got three things from them though this time. First one being Theater Rhythm Final Fantasy Curtain Call. This is a rhythm game based on Final Fantasy, as you probably guessed here. I think there is like another rhythm game that they made on this. I think this is a sequel to it, and as you imply, rhythm game based on Final Fantasy music, so what more can you ask for? This is like a special edition of it. See, it's got like an outer box here. It basically comes with a standard copy of the game as well as a soundtrack CD. Highly recommend if you're into rhythm games, because Final Fantasy music, God tier, as always. Next one, Rayman 2 Revolution. Rayman 2, if you haven't played it, highly recommend you do if you really like 3D platformers. I still hold true that this is one of the best 3D platformers of all time. Dare I say, this is in top 5 best 3D platformers ever. Though this game has been re-released on so many platforms, though I think the last system this game was released on was the 3DS, and prior to that, it was pretty much on almost every single platform. Though I do believe the PS2 version here is either like the best or the second best version of this game. I think the other contender for that would be the Dreamcast version. Nonetheless, want to pick this up here is I love Rayman a lot. I like him more than Mario games. That's just how it is. I'm sorry. I legit like his platforming games over Mario, in all honesty. Right, next one. This is a sealed game. Surprised that they had this sealed and the price that they were selling it for, but I guess this is like an exception in given this publisher's case here for whenever it comes to their old games. Like, there's usually a trend that they're always expensive, but this is one that doesn't hold true to that standard. That is Shin Megami Tensei Digital Devil's Saga 2. Yeah, this is a sealed copy of an Atlas game, Shin Megami Tensei game. I wish I could tell you anything on this game, but the truth is, I haven't played like any Shin Megami Tensei game. The only ones that I have is just the Persona games. I do really want to get into Shin Megami Tensei for all their other stuff, though, because, love Persona so much. Like, Persona originated from this whole series and all that, where it's just a spin-off of this series, pretty much. So, yeah, look forward to getting into these games here whenever I have the time to, and it's just really cool that this is a sealed copy of it right here. There's probably like an exception where like Atlas still prints copies of this. Like, I know on eBay and some online stores that there is still sealed copies of like Persona 3 FES, I think, and Persona 4 on the PS2. See if I can get those, if those are still up there, so I would definitely like to get those. Right, this next one here now, these next two, this is from a flea market that me and my dad went to over the weekend while we were there in Tennessee. And we did find like some markets or shops there that did have like big selection of games and all that, but like their prices were the same as you would expect, like online and other local stores and all that. I was only going there to see like, hey, if like some people like they don't understand like what it is they're selling, I see that they're selling it for like 90% off of what it goes for online, then I'm taking advantage of that. Sadly, didn't come across anything like that, but found some like nice stuff there regardless. Just two things here. But this first one, it's Tomb Raider for PC. Just wanted to pick this up because I believe this was only like 50 cents, matter of fact, and it's Tomb Raider, for God's sakes. And as soon as like me and my dad like walking around there, was like, dude, I gotta pick this up because like I got childhood memories of me and my dad playing the original Tomb Raider games here. It was on the PlayStation for where we played them on, but yeah, had to get this here because I just couldn't, for God's sakes. But this first one, because the whole trip was going there for like the NASCAR race, like I had to pick up a racing game of some sorts. And for this one, got for $1, Gran Turismo 4. Didn't have Gran Turismo on the PS2. It's like I do have like 3, but I just didn't have 4 here. As I know there's like a really common game on the system, but yeah, I just didn't have it until now. So, black label copy, $1 at a flea market. Sure, I'll take it. Plus the condition of it is pretty good, surprisingly too. Right, these next two here, this is from a store over there called MWO Games. They're mostly a card game shop, though, but truth is, I don't really, at least in their current state, don't recommend going to them because, good God, the place is such a mess and is disgusting. They leave food out on their tables, like multiple bins, takeout boxes of food that look like they're months old. It was disgusting. It was not like that at all last year I went there, but oh my God, like I don't expect them to watch this video, but dude, you guys, clean up your place. It is disgusting in there. So with that said, got two things there. Hot Shots Golf 3 on PS2. I do enjoy golf games. That's like the only sports game that I do like to play is just golf games. But ones that are actually creative and like do some unique stuff with the formula. Plus, I do remember this game, I played this a lot with my brother back then, and thankfully, like, me and him, we're still into golf these days, so had to get this back here. This game was a lot of fun back then. And the last thing I got from them, Siphon Filter, the Omega Strain. Siphon Filter is like a pretty like well-known older PlayStation series that started on like the PS1, where they got like 3 games. They made a couple on the PSP, as I don't remember like how many they made on the PS2. But Gross wanted to get it. That was, I think it was like $5 there. All right, now these next one here. This now the rest of these is from another flea market that the whole family went to. And it was basically like a small, like mall area type of thing that they had like this one closed case behind like a display case basically, and it had like just a bunch of games in there. It did have like other things that was like loose for you to look at, but they just had one there that just had like a bunch of other games in there, and totally understandably of like why it was in display case once you see what these games are. And these are all GameCube games. You probably guessed of like why they're in display cases. So the first one here, Cow Round 2 the Kangaroo. I think this is a 3D platformer of some sort, similar to what seems like Ratchet and Clank or Jak and Daxter from what it looks like. I just remember like seeing gameplay footage of this, of like going through some like hidden gem type games on the GameCube. So yeah, just felt like picking it up. Next one is Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. The Crystal Chronicles games, I remember like I played this one on the Wii back then, and I just did not like the game. I guess I was just expecting something like Final Fantasy VII, like some like the older ones at that time, but I guess that just wasn't the right mindset to have. But I want to give like these games another chance, though I didn't play this one, though I've only just played like the one that was released on the Wii later on. But yeah, this was like $10, I think it was. So with that said, just wanted to pick it up. Plus, it's Final Fantasy, and I pick up anything with that name on it. This one here, this is like the biggest one from this whole pickup at this flea market here. That to get you an idea about it, like I paid $50, $60 less than what this normally goes for online. That's Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. Yeah, no joke. Got this for like less than what it normally goes for, and that is surprising given, you know, it's a Zelda game, for God's sakes. And plus, one that is definitely not as common to come across in the wild, given, you know, this is a late release for the system. But yeah, I was quite happy to get this, as I wanted to pick up Twilight Princess on the GameCube for a while, but just prices were just going like over $100 for this. Like, I don't feel like paying that and all that, but you know, it's just sadly it's getting more and more expensive. That when I saw this at the display case, it's like I was really contemplating on picking this up here. It is a complete copy, thankfully. That, no joke, that we like walked out of the store after like we were done shopping and all that, but like I didn't pick this up originally, but it's just nagging in the back of my head. It's like, oh my god, like for that price they're going for, it's like, yeah, it's some money still, but it's just like the savings I'm getting on it compared to where my next option would be online at this point. It's like, hey, can we go back to the store so I can pick this up, please? And thankfully they did. So yeah, like Ma, Dad, like you're watching, is like, thank you for like going back to that store so I can, you know, get this and like all the other stuff too, though. Greatly appreciate that. Love you guys so much for that. But next one here, Metroid Prime. This was, I think it was like around $35 from that display case, if I recall. The Prime series, like I want to pick up like all of like the individual games for it. I do have the trilogy on the Wii, matter of fact, but I want to get like the individual games here. Plus, they're still pretty affordable too, and all that. And the last one from that flea market is Pikmin 1. This, what's interesting with this copy, this was at one point a Blockbuster rental because it's got a sticker right around the disc there. And I also discovered when I was going through it, this copy has 2 manuals for some reason. That was kind of strange there. I don't know if it was something with when this was like a Blockbuster game, like they accidentally put like 2 manuals in it from like another copy that they got back or something like that. But just thought that was pretty interesting, but I'll keep it in there like that. Alright, so next pile. Now this one is from a store called Pop Culture. And I did go there my last time around, but from what I remember, I only picked up a copy of Final Fantasy 13-2 limited edition on the PS3. They just didn't have, at that time, they didn't have a lot of inventory that I was interested in. But since then, they've got like more stuff in. There's like one thing that was cool that I'll show you here. They had a copy of Haunting Ground on the PS2. And there's like, I asked people around, it's like, hey, can I see that copy? It's like, I want to see it. So so that way, like I have the stories like, yeah, I saw and also touched a copy of Haunting Grounds, and it was a complete copy too. So it was, yeah, that was pretty cool. Like looking through that whole thing, that was really, really cool to get a chance to see that thing and look at it up close in person as well. One day I'll get a copy of it, but hey, prices of it right now is like, no thank you. I'll walk out with these here instead. So first thing I got is Rayman 2 The Great Escape. So yeah, no, I got Rayman 2 on the PS2 and all that, but I just remember for this game, for this version specifically, I rented this so many times back then. Like I swear, like every other time I would go to like the video rental store, like to one of the towns that I grew up in. This is just one game that I just rented so many times back then. This isn't one of the better versions of Rayman 2, though, truth be told, but it still has its own unique features that I still suggest, like, for those features alone, it's worth picking up this version here, though. Next one is Loco Roco 2. This is like a well-known puzzle game series on the PSP. The other one would probably be, what was it called? Patapon or something like that. But Loco Roco is just another series that is a very loved puzzle game on the PSP. Highly recommend you pick it up. It is quite a good game. Speaking of which, Loco Roco 1. Same thing here. Same thing with the second game here. So I wanted to pick this up because these are like pretty good puzzle games and whatnot. So yes, glad I got that. And the last one here, this is a Japanese GameCube game that is called Baten Kaitos. Now, we do have a North American version of this game that what this pack here, the reason that this box is like this is that this comes with 2 separate cases that each hold their own disc for like disc 1 and 2 for one game, basically. For like a North American version of this game, like it would be just in like one case and whatnot, but in this case, like they had to do it like this, where it's in their own separate cases, basically. This is an RPG game, so I don't know much on it at all. I just know it's like one of the few like RPG games, JRPG games on the system, so wanted to pick that up alone, and plus like it has like this unique box too that it came with as well. Plus the price that Pop Culture was selling this for, it was like way below what it goes for online, because you also got to account for, you know, like shipping fees to import it and all that. But even taking that out, like the price of just like the bundle here itself was like below for what normally goes for online. Alright, so that was pretty much the whole trip there at Tennessee. Like I said, it was a really fun time. I hope we go back there one of these days if they ever do like have another dirt tracks. It was quite a fun time going there. So after that, the day that I was flying back in, took the chance to go over to Chaotic Games in Alpena, because that's where like we, at least me and my mother, like we flew in and out of Alpena, and that's and with when we got back, there's like, you know what, I'm gonna take a chance to go over to Chaotic Games in the meantime. So with that said, got a few things here. Now, sold my soul on this one here, but looking for like what this goes for online. It's like, this is going for less of what they're selling it for currently compared to like eBay and all that. Plus I have like coupons available that I use it on this. And plus, like with my membership, there's like I'm already getting like 10% off of this anyway, so I'm getting like good savings getting this now before it gets more expensive. That's Wild Arms XF. Wild Arms is it's a RPG series that started on the PS1. It has I think like 7 entries at this point. So you got Wild Arms 1 through 5, another one on the PS2. I don't remember the full name of it, and I think this is the only one that's on the PSP. Could be wrong on that though, but I think that's the amount of titles that's in the series. Comment below to correct me if I'm wrong on that front though, but yeah, wanted to get this though because this is a series that has interested me like many other JRPG series that I have yet to play, so yeah, glad I picked that up. Next one here is Bloody Roar 3. If I recall, this is a fighting game of some sorts from Activision. Just looked pretty interesting for its art style. Kind of reminds me of like Tekken possibly, so yeah, got that right there. And got a new console from Chaotic as well, and that is a slim PlayStation 2. Specifically, this is a 75001 model. Want to make sure that it was at least a 70,000 series unit, because I don't want it to be a 90,000, because my plan with this system, this is going to be like the one that I will play my discs on. I am going to be still getting like a fat PS2 to where like I can use like free McBoot on it and play games off the hard drive and all that, but if I want to actually use my discs though, I'll be using a slim model for it. But the main reason why it's got to be a 70,000 series is I'll be installing Mechapone on this, so that way I can play imported games here. Because if you know your thing about the PS2, this is possibly the most unfriendliest console ever when it comes to importing games for like region protection and all that. Like Sony went out of their way to make sure like the PS2 like at its hardware level was region locked, so that's why like if you wanted to make a PS2 region free, no matter which model it was, you had to install a mod chip in this to make it region free. Thankfully these days with the homebrew scene, thanks to a free McBoot, there is software you can get called Mechapone, and it only works on I think PS2s that are at least the 50,000 series, which are the fat models, and it goes up to I think the 75 series, or no, it goes up to the 90,000 series. I'm sorry. And with that, after you run this whole thing, it makes the system region free. No hardware mods or anything like that is needed. So no, the reason I remember the reason that it has to be a 70,000 series, that starting with the 90,000 series PS2 Slims, they took out the chip that was in the PS1 to do native backwards compatibility on the PS2 here. So therefore that means like, yeah, you can still play PS1 games on the 90,000 PS2, but it's emulation based. And in some instances, you can definitely tell that because the games may not feel right when you're playing them. And another thing, too, is the PS2, across like all of its previous versions, it did use that chip from the PS1 to power like some things for the emotion engine in the PS2 and all that. So in a way, a 90,000 series PS2 is like a slightly gimped PS2 system for like PS2 games and all that. Like it's very, very like not noticeable and all that, don't get me wrong and all that, but it is there though. It's very, very small like issues can come up with that, but it's very, very minuscule that everything will be fine at the end of the day. But yeah, that's the reason I wanted it to be like 75,000 or 70,000 series slim PS2, so that way like it does have the PS1 chip inside this one as well, and just use this to play like my discs or care to use them and all that. Alright, so but one more thing, I just got this in today, and this is the highlight of the month right here. If you guys have seen like my previous videos of what I've done on this series, I've been trying to get these games here for a long time, like ever since I started really collecting video games, which was back in like February or March of 2020 is when I really want to start collecting games. And bad timing for that, of course, given, that's like around the time, pandemic started, and just prices for a lot of games just went up in value and all that, and this series was no exception, plus other reasons that I talked about in the video that I made on this whole series. But decided to break down, just pick up a copy of this game. And what I paid, the price I paid for it though, it is a bit less than what it goes for other listings, sold listings on eBay and just any local game store as well too. Plus this is a complete black label copy. It's got a registration card in it as well. And plus the seller said that this copy, he only played it when it was brand new at the time. So when he first bought it way back then in 99 or 2000, probably when he picked it up. And since then, he never played it since then, basically. So this was kept away for so long, and he just never played it since then. So he did take good care of it. This is very lightly used and all that. And price I'm paying for knowing that, and plus black label copy, very good condition, registration cards, all right, I'll pick up this game finally. The Silent Hill 1, the PlayStation 1. Yeah, if you guys saw my video talking about this series, I go in depth. I'm this series as a whole has just went up in value so much, and which absolutely sucks, because Silent Hill it's one of those series that it's on the same level as Metal Gear Solid for me. Coincidence, both of these are made by Konami, which is an absolute terrible company these days. But Silent Hill is I got a lot of memories with the first game here. That I remember I first played the demo of this game, and what the demo had was the first few minutes of Midwich Elementary School up until you get into the clock tower thing to transition to the other world. But the other thing was the opening alleyway scene up until you encounter the first pterodactyl enemy or whatever, those things, those bird enemies were called. That's when it ends, basically. And I can't tell you, I played that originally when I was 7 or 8. That scared the absolute piss out of me. Of all times throughout my life, I cannot think of any other moment of an entertainment thing that wasn't physically threatening to me, where I was so scared. I had to physically turn off my PS1 when I was going through that alleyway in the very beginning of the game, chasing after that ghost apparition of Cheryl. And since then, it's I just kept on. But yeah, I was so scared, but man, I wanted to keep playing this game. And since then, the series I have fallen in love with. Silent Hill 2 is my favorite game in the series, which I do have a copy of that, thankfully. It's my second favorite game of all time as well. But man, the first game, plenty of memories with it. That this is the one game in the series, I for sure want a copy of this. I need a copy of this game. But God, the prices though for the last 2 years is just ridiculous. But hey, for the price that I paid for, it's I'm not going to get a better deal on it. And it's and knowing that it's a horror game, it's just going to go up in value continuously over the years. So get it now before it gets more expensive and all that. So yeah, that will do it for this month's pickups. Hope you guys enjoyed seeing everything. Do comment below of what your favorite thing here was. Plus, appreciate if you do rate this video, share with your friends. Please subscribe for more content like this in the future. Until then, guys, I will see you next time.